Let's do away with the mentality that anxiety disorders are something that you just have to learn to manage and live with. Sure, anxiety is an emotion that you can't get rid of, but you can change your relationship with it so that it doesn't lead to all of the symptoms, panic, and fears. Welcome to a Healthy Push podcast. I'm Shannon Jackson, former anxiety sufferer turned adventure, mom, and anxiety recovery coach. I struggled with anxiety, panic disorder, and agoraphobia for 15 years. And now I help people to push past the stuff that I used to struggle with. Each week, I'll be sharing real and honest conversations along with actionable and practical steps that you can take to help you push past your anxious thoughts, the symptoms, panic, and fears. Welcome. You're right where you're meant to be. All right, medication is one of the topics that I get asked the most questions about. And it's also one of the questions that I see being asked most on social media. So I want to take some time to share with you what my journey with medication looked like and also share some tips that will help you if you're deciding whether or not to try medication, or if you're currently on medication, or if you're looking to get off of medication. But before I dive in, I want to share this disclaimer right off the bat. I often see people in Facebook groups or on Instagram asking questions like, what medication do you take? Has it worked for you? Have you ever taken fill in the blank with a medication? My doctor just prescribed me fill in the blank with a medication. Did you experience symptoms on this medication? And the truth is, none of these questions will lead to helpful answers because none of us are the same. What did or didn't work for one person may or may not work for another. And listening to other people's horror or success stories will only further create anxiety or leave you with more confusion or false hope than what you started with. I want to stress that if you have any questions surrounding medication, please do yourself a huge favor and talk to your doctor, a therapist, or a psychiatrist. Do not seek medication advice online, especially not on social media. People will only be able to offer you their own experience, which is in no way helpful to you. All right, let me dive into my personal journey with medication. In the height of my journey with anxiety, panic disorder, and agoraphobia, I felt like I had no choice but to try medication. I had been in therapy for years and had learned and used so many tools, but I was still at a point where I was experiencing panic attacks daily, sometimes even multiple panic attacks a day. And what I was struggling with was interfering with me doing everyday things. I feared leaving my own home, and I had a really hard time doing everyday things. And in looking back, I'm honestly shocked that I graduated high school and college and didn't lose every job that I ever had. So I started by having a conversation with my therapist, and I told her that I had interest in trying medication. She agreed that it made sense for me to try medication, and so she connected me with a psychiatrist so that I could talk to the psychiatrist about whether or not medication would be a good option for me. And I'll be honest with you, I was pretty hesitant and even anxious to try medication. I had been prescribed a medication for panic attacks when I first began struggling with panic, and I hated how it made me feel. Even on the lowest dose, it made me feel drowsy, confused, and even more not in the moment, which only heightened the anxiety and panic for me. My body is pretty sensitive to medications in general, and so I really didn't want to have another bad experience or potentially make things even harder on myself. So I had a really honest conversation with my psychiatrist at the time that went something like this. She asked me, Shannon, what are the cons of trying medication? And I said, well, I've heard that many people experience side effects while taking medication, and I honestly can't handle one more symptom. And she said, but what if it helps to relieve some of your symptoms? And me, thinking that I was being clever, said, but what if it doesn't? What she said next was so spot on, and I needed to hear it. Then you stop taking it. But medication is a tool that could give you some relief and help you to be able to focus on other tools that will help you to ultimately overcome panic and agoraphobia. And I thought, wow, how logical, a state in which my brain most often didn't think in. Can you relate? It was in that moment that I told myself, medication is just another tool that might help. And if it doesn't, I just stop taking it. I want to take a second and point out something really important. It's natural to feel anxious about trying medication, and you're allowed to feel anxious. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling so that you can process it and move forward in a healthy way. After having this conversation with my psychiatrist, I walked away having a much better understanding of the purpose of medication and what it could and couldn't do for me. Let me share some of my honest thoughts with you on medication. Medication is used to support you along your recovery journey. It's not the cure or the solution, but it's another tool in your toolbox that can help to give you some relief so that you're able to focus on all the other tools that will ultimately help you to create a healthy relationship with anxiety and overcome panic disorder and agoraphobia. In regards to medication, we often have the notion that it's a fix or a solution, when sure, it's something that can help you, but medication isn't a fix or a solution. Picture medication as a roof on a house. It can help to shield you from experiencing some of the symptoms of anxiety, panic, and agoraphobia, but what good is a roof without a solid foundation, the structure, and doors? The roof needs to be held up, right? It needs other things in order to protect what's inside. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make along the recovery journey is depending on a tool to do the work for you. Medication can help you, but it can't act as the foundation and the structure. Only you can create this. And the foundation is created by you developing a better understanding of what you're struggling with and having a healthy response to your anxious thoughts and feelings, and taking the small steps and making healthy choices and practicing healthy habits and being willing to face the hard stuff. This was one of the biggest mistakes that I made along my recovery journey. I was constantly searching or waiting for something to come along and be the thing that saved me. Don't make this mistake. If you missed episode 2 on taking small, healthy steps, I encourage you to take a listen because I share lots of helpful small steps that you can take that will support you along your recovery journey. Okay, back to my journey with medication. After I had this conversation with my psychiatrist about medication, I tried 2 different medications. And long story short, I tried both medications for several weeks before deciding, with the help of my psychiatrist and therapist, to stop taking medication altogether. One of the medications ended up causing some severe side effects, and the other just wasn't a good fit. And I'm not going to share with you which medications I tried because remember, it's not helpful to you. What didn't work for me might work for you, and vice versa, because we're all very different. I just want to put a plug in here real quick. If you're on medication and are contemplating going off of it, make sure to talk to whomever is prescribing you the medication. It's important for them to better understand why you want to come off of the medication so that they can help you to make the best decision for you and also to do it in a safe and healthy way. And again, it's totally natural to feel anxious about coming off of a medication. So do yourself a favor and seek support from people who will actually be able to help you. So, after making the decision to go off of medication, I remember expressing to my psychiatrist that I felt even more defeated, hopeless, and frustrated than ever before. And then she asked me, Shannon, are you committed to you and your mental health? Because if you are, I think we can do this without medication. In this moment, I'm sure I felt like throwing something at her head, but instead, I wanted to know more. I was curious. And I won't lie, I thought she was going to present me with something magical. And well, she did, just not in the shape of a magical cure. And at this point, I was already crying. Well, I actually had tears pouring down my face. And I said, I'm committed, but I don't want to learn how to manage anxiety anymore. I need to learn how to push past this. And she looked at me and she said, F managing anxiety. And I'll admit it, I was a little taken aback by her bluntness, but I needed to hear these words more than anything. To hear this from a psychiatrist, I was blown away. I didn't have to manage anxiety. This was a game changer for me. Here's the truth. You don't need to learn how to manage anxiety. In fact, trying to manage it is going to make your journey even harder. You need to learn how to have a healthy relationship with it, how to heal, how to overcome, and how to push past it. And yes, this is possible. Let's do away with the mentality that anxiety disorders are something that you just have to learn to manage and live with. Sure, anxiety is an emotion that you can't get rid of, but you can change your relationship with it so that it doesn't lead to all of the symptoms, panic, and fears. I won't say it quite as bluntly as my psychiatrist did, but to heck with managing anxiety. So you might be thinking, well, Shannon, what did you do next? Well, I began committing to me and my mental health. I began prioritizing my mental health. I stopped saying that I was doing everything I could, and I actually started putting in the work to face my fears and to heal. I started practicing the tools that I learned every single day. I started changing how I responded to my anxious thoughts and feelings. I started to stay and face the hard stuff instead of running. I began to bet on myself rather than the tools. And guess what? It was the best bet I ever made. What I want you to know is it's okay to try medication. It's a great tool that could actually give you the relief you need so that you can focus on building a solid foundation that will help you for when the time comes that you want to go off of medication. And maybe that time never comes, and that's okay. There's absolutely no shame in taking medication. Taking medication doesn't mean that you're weak or incapable. In fact, taking medication has the ability to make you even more capable. It's also okay if you don't want to try medication. Medication isn't the only tool, and it's not the thing that's going to lead to recovery for you. You are the thing that's going to lead to recovery. You taking healthy action often is the thing that's going to lead you to recovery. And it's okay if medication doesn't work for you. Medication didn't work for me, and look where I stand today. I'm not saying that it wasn't incredibly hard, because it was, but I was capable of hard, and so are you. I want to leave you with this. If you're questioning whether or not to try medication, please talk to a qualified health professional. Don't go to a Facebook group or to Instagram. Talk to somebody who can actually help you to make the best decision for you. Somebody that's educated and informed on prescribing medication. And please start making more bets on you. Because after all, you are the most powerful tool that you have to recover. And until next time, keep taking healthy action. I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Healthy Push. If you want more, head on over to ahealthypush.com for the show notes and lots more tips, tools, and inspiration that will support your recovery. And if you're hoping for me to cover a certain topic, be sure to join my Instagram community at A Healthy Push and let me know in the comments what you want to hear next.